Okay, came over to get the measurements on these things over here. And it looks like the Furman power conditioner completely gave up the ghost. Yeah, that's not good. Okay, so we've got the Furman Miniport 20 power relay, and then the little relay accessory, which basically it detects when it's powered, and as soon as it's powered, it flips the relay to this thing. All right, so this is going directly into one of the 20 amp circuits down there. I have a live outlet strip down here, and I'm just going to plug right into that. As soon as I plug into that, you can see that turns on. And as soon as I unplug, it turns that off. So I know that this is a complete assembly all by itself, is fully functional. I'm going to test this one next, and after that I will take the both of them out of the rack, and then we'll be prepared to migrate that stuff over into the rack over there. Okay, so the top box only had 3 screws. Feeling behind here, it's got the same thing going on. So they just used 3 screws to hold that on. 2 screws to hold this guy on. So I've got that one off. I'm gonna get his screws together. Alrighty. And I'm gonna leave them like this, which is not trash, as opposed to that stuff right there. And of course, we've got the zone controller, and the zone controller comes down to this box on the side, which we will also have to remove. So these guys need to plug into these guys here because this is the high amperage switching systems. Those still seem to work, so I can run those through a regular outlet, and that should be fine. So now I'm going to take a look at the stuff the next layer down. All right, so that unit I just put over here and left it there with its screws. The 2 screws for the small box, the 3 longer ones for the big box. Okay, so we've got a rain power supply here. This rain power supply goes right directly into the back of the mixer, and then it is powered by this bottom outlet plug here. So that's fine. These are mic outputs that, or inputs rather, that don't go anywhere anymore. Looking for anything else that's on the side of that cabinet. Okay, professional low noise mic preamplifier. So I think that goes to the mic that's out here. Yes, it does. So this goes to the booth microphone right there. And let's take a closer look at that. See if I can get some of the glare out of it. And looking straight on. So I'm going to try not to unwire that if I can get away with it. But yeah, that's what it looks like just in case things go sideways. Red, black, ground. Red, black, ground. Red, black. And then the power supply. So the power supply is going where? Oh, that's not power supply. Yes, it is power supply. Okay, that's going to this brick here. And that brick was there, so I will have to make a mental note to leave space above and below. Okay, I'm hoping all of this stuff here can just be turned sideways and walked out. That'd be excellent. This thing, I have no idea what this is. It's going back to the wall there. It's going to the HCE, whatever that is, on this Crown amp. It's not a volume control or anything. I don't know what this is. That we're going to have to do a little bit more investigation on. And I'm going to have some fun unscrewing this thing because I have to take that box apart in order to get to it. Okay, so I'm going to try not to take any of this stuff apart. But we got that going into the 70 volt. That's a red. We got the black going into, what is that? That's the common. This is labeled booth. And this goes back out the umbilical, which I assume goes to these guys out here. That makes sense there, but I'm hoping I don't have to take any of this apart. Okay, so the little magic box got a bunch of stuff in it, and it's just got one screw holding it on the side plate. So that'll be down in a second. All right, so I've got everybody back in the rack, operational. I've got the relays going up top here. Everybody jammed in the case. I got the speaker wires stress relieved off until we get everything back in. These guys are gonna end up getting bolted somewhere to the inside of this, but we gotta figure this out before we finish doing that. But for right now, that's fine. It's all working the way it was before, and these relays are now working. So if I come out here, I'm gonna shut off my amps. So my amps are this top switch. If I turn that off, it turns those relays off, and it takes out the amps. So the amps are gone. Now the second unit, flip that off, and that takes out everybody else. I'll start by firing that stuff up. Now that that's up, I'm going to flip the amps on. You'll see the relays kick on up top. So the relays that go on up top are in those special high amperage 120 volt circuits. So one on one side, one on the other side. This is the one for the lower strip. This is the one for the upper strip. So these things here, you've got a small thin wire, and the small thin wire, that's the only thing really that's up in this power strip except for the other amplifier. So the amplifier that's for this room in here, that's also going to that. So this is just the amp strip up top. The bottom strip is just the preamplification and mixers, and that's it. It's up and running. I still have to yank the DVX remote off from the side of the rack. But that doesn't matter that much because now that this is not 7 feet in the air, you could actually just turn the dial manually. But I'll take it off there anyways, just so we have it available. Alrighty. So we have a slide projector cable here. It's going right through on there. So I'm gonna cut the slide projector cable out as far back as I can, and that should get at least this mess out of the way. All right, that's a pretty good chunk of wire taken out of there. I left it sticking about this far from the wall, and I'm just gonna shove that in there the best I can just to get that out of the way. All right, so that's close enough. I'd left that right there on the side of the wall. So if for some reason we need a chaser wire for something, it's there. Alrighty, so this little fella labeled center. Yeah, that's something. So I'm gonna chase that wire through and cut that because obviously that's not being used for anything. Okay, so I've got that out and I've isolated a few more. So we've got the teaching station and some other stuff here. Programs, so this must be all for the old stuff. So I'll be able to get that clump out of there, and I'll do the same thing with those. I'll leave those about this long, cut them, and then cinch them up against the wall. All right, so while I was working on the system, I noticed that this amp here and that amp here had disconnected themselves. So in the meantime, I just hooked up some safety straps. So there's one short one that's going around this, and then a bigger loop, and same kind of thing on each one of them, just to keep those strain relieved off and so that the weight of the cables don't hold them down. We noticed that in the taller rack a couple times, but we thought people were unplugging it, and they're not unplugging it. It's just that these don't seat real well in the back of those amps. So I'm giving them a helping hand. I guess the newer amps have locking things. Now I know why. Okay, so this is a Cat 5 cable with a Cat 5 end on it. I'm not sure this will be super useful or not, but I'm gonna I'm going to go ahead and keep that one anyways, just because that may have a use. That may have a use. That's all I'm going to say. This one, however, this will not have a use. But I may keep the cable itself just to use that as a binder to hold the two heavy-duty Ethernets together that go into the projectors. Because those two, they follow across, go back behind here, and they come over here behind this. So those are the projector ones. So I may just, I may use this to help as a just as a binder, as a safety binder, just in case something gets yanked. That'll help stabilize that a little bit instead of just having the world depending on Ethernet. I'm gonna have to spiral this mess up because this comes out of the wall, comes up and through, and it actually goes into the rack, into a set of those connectors. So that does have to stay. None of this stuff does though. All right. So I only need one of those as a binder. I don't need the two. Plus I think this one's, I'm going to go out on a limb here and I'm going to say that this one's probably not that useful anymore. So I'm going to cut that one out of there. Alrighty. 2 9-pin serials. So I'm going to guess that that was probably for the old Extron system before they started running Just Direct. Like this doesn't have serial on it anymore. Well, it does, but it's not using it. It's just using the Ethernet for video and for switching. So that's for the old one, so this can go too. I had to look at this one twice. This one almost looked like AC for a second there. But it is not. It is just a little video line. If I can get that focused at all. So I can cut that one off, because obviously that's not doing anything either. Okay, so this one here's a little Extron power brick. So this must have been powering something at some point or another, but it obviously being at the bottom of that pile no longer is, so I can take that out too. All right, so this cable comes down from the ceiling. This looks like a legacy unit from an old 70-volt system. I'm not gonna cut this one off because this one may be value in the future, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send it down here, tie it off to one of these empty tubes, and I'm going to use that as a chase for these wires here, just to kind of make it look a little cleaner and to get everything a little bit farther back. Okay, so I got all the power cords arranged, got those in a little pile, got all of this wire gone, which is actually a substantial amount of stuff. Everything's fairly decent looking there. These lines that come here and they go back up and around and they come into here, I basically stuffed that underneath there so nobody can see it's underneath the table. I wrapped it around here. Well, I didn't wrap it around here. I folded it around here because where it came out, it was going over the Ethernet, so I wanted to leave a loop so in case for any reason we need to take these things out, then we can take the loop out and straighten out the cable there. But other than that, I did end up ditching the video line. I was going to use the video line as a support line for these things, but they don't really need it. So that's what we're going for. And yeah, I wouldn't be normally thrilled with putting like an inductive loop next to Ethernet cables, but these are heavily shielded. And that wire's been there anyways. It's just been a big cluster. So that's it for that. So that cleans that up a bit. Right, so this obviously isn't the finished product just yet because the delayed relay isn't in here yet. So we've just got this in here right now telling people how to do this. There's only like 2 people who actually have to touch any of this stuff, so that's fine. And this is the finished product. We've got our talkback microphone on the side. I've got that tied off. We didn't need all that cable for just somebody to be standing back here. I probably could have shortened that cable up more, but I don't know what they might do with that in the future. So the talkback is right here. And everything is working good. I've tested it all out on the floor. As you can see, the wires are definitely cleaner than they were before. And there's not a huge cluster of stuff to have to deal with back here anymore. So it takes out a massive amount of extra junk wiring. I'm going to call this job done.